Today we've got a deep dive into a topic that's been in the news lately and many of you have been curious about: welfare. Welfare is an essential safety net for many individuals and families in the United States. Some people think it's a big waste of money and it's just a bunch of people too lazy to work. Now that does happen, but not nearly as much as you've been led to believe. Anything that involves money and human beings has waste, fraud, and abuse. That's just what happens. It is estimated that between 11 and 13% of people on any form of public assistance don't need it and are gaming the system or committing outright fraud. In the grand scheme of things, that isn't a bad rate compared to other government programs. And stop typing. It is an essential program, whether you believe it or not. 70% of the US population is just 2 or 3 missed paychecks from needing some form of welfare or public assistance. Have you ever wondered which state has the highest percentage of residents on welfare? Well, buckle up, because today we're counting down the top 10 states with the highest welfare rate. Whether it is to better understand the socioeconomic factors or just gain some smarts, stick around as we unravel these states one by one. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Georgia. Georgia, like many other states in the US, grapple with significant pockets of poverty and hopelessness, especially in the rural and inner city areas. That should be no surprise to anyone. If it was a surprise to you, I'm sure you're the type of person that at age 16, you're a little surprised to find out that the whole tooth fairy thing was a fraud. Despite being home to amazing cities like Atlanta and Savannah, Georgia has poverty issues that still persist. Historically, parts of Georgia, particularly the southern region, have struggled with limited access to quality education, healthcare, and job opportunities. Economic challenges have been aggravated by the decline of industries such as agriculture and manufacturing. Now, in recent years, the state's done quite a lot to address those issues. They still run into some poverty issues, which of course puts people on welfare and different types of government assistance. Currently, the rate of welfare in Georgia is 13,247 residents for every 100,000 are on some form of welfare. Number 9, Oregon. This isn't really a surprise to anyone, I'm sure. Oregon has some serious poverty issues. They have some serious homeless issues. And a lot of the eastern section of the state has a lot of poverty in the rural areas. If you don't know, Oregon is located in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. While it boasts a rich natural landscape and vibrant cities like Portland, many residents grapple with, different economic hardships. And it's not just the people living on the streets in Portland. There's a lot of people in this area that are like that. For most of Oregon's existence, industries related to the timber industry were central to Oregon's economy. But as these industries have faced decline, some communities have been left struggling in both urban and rural areas of the state. Affordable housing is like the king of all of Oregon's problems. Now, Oregon has done different things like raise the minimum wage, but it still can't keep pace with the rising cost of living, especially Portland, but anywhere you got humans, that's what's going on in this country right now. In reality, people have said that since forever. I mean, it's not like cost of living being high has ever been anything new in the United States. It's not like all these, CEOs got together and, you know what? I think we're charging the American people too much. Maybe we should slash everything in half. Start fresh from there. But with all the homeless and all the affordable housing issues, Oregon has a welfare rate that is 13,775 for every 100,000 residents. Number 8, Florida. So this one, to anyone outside of Florida or that part of the country, is probably surprised by this because most of us only see these wonderful pictures of Florida like Disneyland, the wonderful beaches, manatee, old dudes in Speedos. A modern day Garden of Eden, but that's not really what's going on in Florida. While the state's economy has grown in various sectors, a notable percentage of the population still struggles with financial hardships. Factors like high housing costs, limited access to quality healthcare, and wage disparities have left many residents below the poverty line. A lot of those dudes are wearing mullets to this day. The effect of poverty can be seen in the urban areas, rural regions, and even among the communities that one might assume are thriving. Now, I've read about all these different programs they've done to address these issues over the years, and I've noticed in the last 2 years, a lot of those programs have been canceled, which has kind of aggravated the situation. In the next few years, I think you're going to see a bigger problem in Florida. Now let's talk about their rate. 13,852 Floridians for every 100,000 are on some form of welfare. Number 7, Illinois. Now, I know there's a certain part of the population there. Yep, I knew it right there. Illinois, along with Florida, are the only two cities on this list that are both on the top 10 here for rate of people on welfare and just the overall amount of people on welfare. And that has to do with their population size. The king of all of it, with the absolute most, obviously is going to be California because they have far more people than any other state. I mean, California has almost as many people as the entire country of Canada. But back to Illinois. In the state of Illinois, poverty has long been a multifaceted issue affecting a significant portion of its residents. Obviously, a lot of that's coming from Chicago. Chicago has some downright scary neighborhoods that are extremely poor. You know, it's really bad when those solar panel guys won't even come to your door. God, they come to my door like once a week. They're not as bad as those people trying to get me to refinance my home, though. They actually come to your door here. Or they like to send a letter to me and they put a picture of my house in it. Like they're stalking me. We know where you live. You need to refinance. Illinois' welfare rate is 13,908 for every 100,000 residents. Number 6, Alabama. There are 3 things that are very important to the people of Alabama: sweet tea, poverty, and following the Cinnamon Tide. That's their football team from their college. And stop typing. I know it's called the Crimson Tide. I'm messing with you. I actually was talking to a guy from Mississippi and he kept calling him the Cinnamon Tide. I don't know if that's a common insult, but it was the first time I ever heard it. I will tell you one thing in my experience of all the college football games I've ever been to, an Alabama football game is insane. Those people love that team more than a triathlete loves oxygen. There's a little bit of a discussion on one of these videos I did about the regions. The Deep South is Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. And yes, even though Florida is lower than that, that's not where it comes from. The Deep South is something totally different. It's not really about where they sit on a map. But Alabama is a wonderful state with great people. They just have a whole lot of poverty. And they have for decades and decades. Alabama's poverty rate is consistently ranked among the highest in the nation, and that's even though they've gotten better over the last few years. In 2021, it was around 16% of their population lived below the poverty line, while the rest of the country was about 10.5. Right now, the poverty rate in the United States is still 10.5, and Alabama's got it down to 15.2. So a little progress. They still got a bunch of people on welfare. Their rate of welfare recipients is 14,358 for every 100,000 residents. Number 5, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is located in the heart of the United States, and it's grappled with poverty for many, many years. Even though it has one of the best farming sectors in the nation, they still have a significant percentage of their population that struggles financially. Several factors contribute to this issue, including economic downturns in dominant industries, limited access to quality education in certain areas, and the disparity in employment opportunities. You know, everything's got a food chain when it comes to just about anything in the world. One thing affects the next thing. If someone kills all the insects in an area, all the birds go away. If all the birds go away, then all the hawks go away. And it's just this cycle. That cycle when it comes to cities is like this. If you don't have quality education, new companies don't come into your area because you don't have enough people with enough education to do these high-tech jobs. If those high-tech jobs or just any jobs don't come to a certain area, you have more people in poverty. More people in poverty means you have to pay more into welfare and your crime rate goes up. The downside for most politicians, it usually takes 10, 20 years to really see a significant difference once you start having better education in your state or your city or whatever. So they rarely do anything about it. They want to see results this week. Additionally, rural parts of Oklahoma face unique challenges such as less access to healthcare and public services, which can further exacerbate poverty rates. Oklahoma isn't the worst state in the nation, but I think if they don't address some of the issues that they face, they're just going to go downhill. Over the next couple decades, I don't care how much oil they're pulling out of the ground. The welfare rate in Oklahoma is 14,648 per every 100,000 residents. Number 4, Mississippi, our old friend Mississippi. I mean, I'm sure most of you thought they were going to be the top of the list, but here they are at number 4. For most states, that's embarrassing. For Mississippi, that's quite an accomplishment. Congratulations. I'll give a golf clap to you. I had someone email me, said, you've never been to Mississippi. You don't know what you're talking about. So I sent him a few pictures of me in Mississippi, emailed to him. I got one of them back. He had drawn a part of the male anatomy on it, pointing towards my face. So now not only will I not send you feet pics, quit asking, I'm not even sending any pictures to anyone. Like Oklahoma, a lot of Mississippi's problems start with poor education. Now, I will tell you this, they're going to change a little bit because, I don't know, maybe about 5 or 10 years ago, they really started focusing on the education of Mississippi. They've always had pretty decent universities. It's just a lot of their rural schools and even the inner city schools, they weren't good. They've addressed that, and it's going to take it a while, but I think they're moving in the right direction when it comes to that. For right now, they still don't have any big industries moving in there that are really helping the people. They do have some pockets here or there, but overall, they're falling behind the curve, or they had been. But more and more people are moving there because it's so cheap, so this will give them more tax dollars, and they'll address these issues. But right now, it's not great. Mississippi always has one of the highest rates of poverty in the nation, and their rate of people on welfare is 14,873 for every 100,000 residents. Number 3, West Virginia, one of my favorite states. West Virginia is nestled within the rugged landscapes of the Appalachian Mountains. It is known for its rich history and cultural significance. However, beneath that scenic beauty lies a pressing socioeconomic concern, poverty. Since forever, West Virginia has grappled with a high poverty rate. Now, this can be attributed to a range of factors, including the decline in the coal industry, limited access to education and healthcare, and a lack of diversified economic opportunities. I mean, they were doing pretty good with coal mining. Why branch out? They're still pulling coal out of the ground, just not what they used to. And a lot of the communities have really suffered. And then, like I've said on this channel before, they got a 1-2 punch. As the coal industry was going down, the opioid addiction was going up in West Virginia. This just created more and more problems, more and more people slipped into poverty, and then everyone depended on welfare of some sort. Not everyone, but a lot. Remember, Mississippi was in the 14,000 range, almost 15,000? West Virginia took a giant leap forward on this list. West Virginia's welfare rate is 17,144 residents for every 100,000. Number 2, Louisiana. Louisiana is nestled in the heart of the American South. Like I said before, this is a deep South state. Their rural areas, like Mississippi, are just wrecked with poverty, and they have been since, I don't know, the Great Depression. It's like they never got out of the Great Depression in some parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. Thing is, and this is really strange, there's this great documentary called Happy, and they went around for this documentary and researched what makes people happy and where are the happiest people in the United States. They found it to be in Louisiana, in the poorer areas. And they kind of tracked what was making these people happy. And they went to other parts of the world and found out the same thing in these different communities. And it's family and friends. How close were they? How often did they have gatherings where they were around their friends and family? Not what they owned, not how much they made. How often did they, have dinner with their family and friends? How often were there festivals? I mean, that's common sense. The things you own shouldn't make you happy. But we're humans. We don't do what's logical. But the people in the backwoods of Louisiana have figured it out. But Louisiana has consistently ranked among the states with the highest poverty rate. Factors contributing to this issue range from the history of economic inequality to limited access to quality education to challenges that face the rural areas. Additionally, they've had a lot of really solid disasters like Hurricane Katrina. 17,340 Louisiana residents for every 100,000 are on some form of welfare. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link for that down below. And I want to give another shout out to Where Might I Live. It's a really good website that I use all the time. In a video I did like a week ago, I called it Where Might I Move, which was kind of rude. I didn't do it on purpose. I'm only human, and the plate in my head does not make me a cyborg. All right, number 1. And number 1. New Mexico. New Mexico has struggled with poverty for a very long time. A lot of it has to do with the smaller communities that are in very remote locations. This state consistently ranks among the highest in the nation in terms of poverty rate. A complex web of factors contribute to this issue. Economic dependence on just a few industries, limited access to quality education in certain regions, and they got this history of socioeconomic disparities among its diverse population. Now, they have have addressed this in recent years. I've seen a lot of changes just in the stats for New Mexico. They used to be much worse. They're pretty bad right now, but they got a little bit better. Now, this is how much of a jump they had. Remember, Louisiana was 17,340 for every 100,000 residents? In New Mexico, it's 21,292 for every 100,000 residents. Almost a quarter of their population is on some form of welfare. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.